In a world dominated by technology and streaming, we know the positives. It's choice, whether that be music, movies, TV, gaming, or anything else. Streaming and technology have enabled a variety of choices for all of us and go on a very, very personalised journey. But with that is very much a negative side. Let's go explore that. I'm Luke. I live in the West Midlands in the UK with my family, and we try to live a more simple, frugal and intentional life. Now, one thing I'm becoming very, very aware of in recent weeks and months is how technology is changing myself, changing society, changing how we interact with each other, or rather don't. And these are things which I think are in everybody's heads. We know that we are less of a cohesive society. And I think largely we put this down to, polarised politics and polarised, viewpoints and, the online social media side of things. And that's definitely rampant. Social media, technology, the internet, it's a bit of a wild west of really putting people on algorithms and stretching them out, and you're either in this camp or this camp and you've got nothing in common. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a new thing. I think third places, public places where people gather, would historically also push people into their own crowds, into their own bubbles. And whatever your viewpoints are, if it's politics or culture or whatever it is, you would inevitably be with your crowd, be with your people. And perhaps it wouldn't be quite as polarising, but you would certainly be apart. But one thing that used to be there in the past, this pre-digital, pre-technology, pre-algorithm world, was a society bonding over things. So as much as you were being with your people and pushing in separate directions, you would have shared culture, shared moments, shared common interests with the majority of society. And those things pushed against each other to essentially still create individualism, but within a shared society. One thing I think is lacking now is that positive force. So in recent days and weeks, I have had a little bit of an epiphany. And it was when I was sat in the office, and we usually sit in the office at work, and don't get me wrong, we're a cohesive bunch, but we haven't got mega amounts in common. For want of a better expression, we don't have those water cooler moments until this week. Or rather, this series of the Traitors. And I think the Traitors really showcases what society is now lacking. So, if you're British, you will know you can't get away from the Traitors at the moment. Everybody's watching it. Teenagers all the way through to your grandma, they are watching it. And actually you can enter a room of your colleagues, your friends, your family, and you can talk about something because there is an assumption that the person is also sharing in that cultural moment. And that's really powerful, because what it does is, by default, in people's minds, is think that they have something in common with the person next to them. No matter their politics, their kind of differences, perceived differences, there is something in common by default. And actually, it's almost like, oh, you don't watch the Traitors, never mind. But largely, you're going to get a positive reaction of, oh, I do watch the Traitors, and you can talk and you can bond, and then that conversation can go to something else. And I've seen it firsthand this week. I've been on the phone to my mum, spoke about the Traitors, been in the office, spoke about the Traitors, was in the pub and spoke about the Traitors. And it's just that shared collective thing of we do have something in common because culture is bringing us together through one shared experience. Now, we can argue whether it's low culture, high culture, who cares culture. But when society starts lacking these things that bring people together, it's dangerous because this perception of gluing society together loosens. Then you add technology and society and algorithms, and it pushes people together, and that glue becomes weaker and weaker. And then before you know it, you've got, and we don't need to go into great detail, but you've got what we see online: polarized, negativity, people just in their own groups, individuals lost and lonely, just everybody thinking they don't have anything in common. And it lessens our culture, it lessens our community, and it lessens our humanity. And streaming has done this largely. Streaming has done this. I think there's a lot of different types of things that can bring a society together, but media, entertainment definitely does that. Compare now to 20, 30, 40 years ago. We aren't all listening to the same chart music. We aren't all going to the cinema to see the latest movie release. We aren't watching the same TV series at 9 o'clock on a Monday evening. We aren't all doing and experiencing, watching and consuming those things which then you can go into work the next day or pick up the phone to your friends or your family and just speak about. And that just starts to lessen the glue. And it is streaming that has pushed that, and the technology advancements of streaming are fantastic. You don't have to watch the crap, that you're half interested in. That is a 7 out of 10. Instead, you can scroll and scroll and scroll and find your 10 out of 10 and watch that. And that is fantastic from a very individual, personalised point. And I love doing that. But I'm watching a TV show that was, for me, in my headspace right now, is a 10 out of 10. But it was released 2 years ago. So there's nobody to discuss it with. There's nobody in the office. At the closest I would get to in the office or the pub or amongst friends and family, them saying, oh yeah, I kind of remember that from 2 years ago. Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? And that's it. That's it. Whereas this week with the Traitors, and the last few weeks, it's been, oh my gosh, can you believe so-and-so got murdered? Or, oh, I wonder if those two are going to win. How would you play it? And it allows more longer and more comprehensive conversation, which can lead to a greater connection and further conversations, and creates this bond between people, between colleagues, between friends, between neighbours, between family, that perhaps isn't there. And I don't think we talk about this enough. So while we're all on the selfish pursuit of individual choice, and I'm enjoying the music, the games, the TV, the movies that I like, that I've chosen to watch tonight, we are neglecting the society choices and bonding over those. And I get you can find communities online, especially within the gaming realm, where you can then go and find online communities which are also enjoying your games. Although, there are, online social media and forums and whatever, and dedicated fan pages for certain TV shows. But those aren't real people, not in your real life anyway, who actually can be your community. And therefore, we are prioritising views of people, if they're still people and not AI generated, on the internet, and their feelings and their thoughts and their opinions. We're valuing that more than those around us. Look, streaming is great for individual choice, but I am starting to wonder now, and look, we're never going to go back, are we, to linear of everybody sat down at 9 o'clock to watch the latest big drama. But I wonder if there's a balance to be had. And I look back at the past and I can think of shows off the top of my head that did this. And again, not particularly high culture, but you're talking, back in the day, the X Factor, Saturday and Sunday night, everybody would talk about, watch it, and everybody would talk about it for the week. It would give you something to look forward to. It would give you, a running commentary over, 10, 12 weeks of live shows of connecting with people around you over this cultural entertainment. You can apply that to Big Brother back in the day. I remember that being, another one. Even like the soap operas. You know, again, everybody quotes, you're not my mother. Yes, I am. Because we all shared that experience. And that's now ingrained into a weird subset of British culture. But actually, not even a weird subset. I think you could say, you're not my mother, to a majority of British people of a certain age, and they would reply with, yes, I am. That's powerful stuff. Yet, what we would perceive as a big drama or big cultural television moment now would never, ever have that same impact. How do we fix it? Is it fixable? I don't know. It's really hard to, when it's so fragmented, and if I went around my office tomorrow and asked 10 people, what did you watch last night? I think I would get 10 very different answers. And I think we definitely can see that as a good thing. Individuals enjoying individual choice. But therefore, there's nothing bonding us. There's nothing for us to have a 5 or 10 minute chat about while we're having a cup of tea and a biscuit. Instead, we're just sat at our desk doing the work, not talking, not communicating. We must have shared cultural experiences, and TV and movies and games and music and that entertainment media is only part of it. It does go wider than that. But those shared experiences can also include going to the pub, going to a gig, going to, a cafe, shared cultural experiences. And that seems less and less. That seems less and less too, because we're all on our individual paths and not coming together. We're not coming together in person. We're not coming together and bonding over cultural moments. And it has been refreshing. It's been nostalgic with the Traitors this week. And it's been really, really nice. Really nice. I think the only exception I can think about is maybe sport. That still does it. Football in particular in Britain, really, that still does it. But again, I think it's a certain subset of people, mainly kind of men, younger men will bond over that. And what you're doing then is maybe eliminating, and I am doing sweeping generalisations here, but another subset of people. Whereas I think something which is a TV cultural phenomenon brings different subsets together. And that's what it's all about. You can have cultural phenomenons within your own subsets of people, but having those that bring them all together in the Venn diagram, that's powerful. That is powerful stuff. The news does it, sports does it, but again, within subsets with particular viewpoints, in terms of sport and football, a Manchester United fan will look at it from this Manchester United way versus a Liverpool fan looking at this Liverpool way. And they're in their own cultures online and they're coming together, and it's a bit of a battle, and it's all in good spirits at the same time. But again, it's not necessarily cohesive. Politics the same. The right to look at it this way, the left to look at it this way, and they look at that issue and they don't come together and have that cultural communication, that societal look. We are losing our society, our culture, our communication, our humanity, and we must fight to bring it back. And I know the Traitors is a really weird example of that, but I think it says so much about what we have lost. And I will make a slight political point to leave this video, and this isn't a political account at all, but it's a thought about this week. We've put so much emphasis on people trying to bring their culture into our country and dominate, this is the narrative, right? With their culture, because they're not British. But what is British culture now? What do we really have in common with our neighbours and our friends and our family and our colleagues? What do we really talk to them about? What are we really defending? What is it? What is it? Do you know your neighbour's name? Do you know what your friend watched on TV last night? Do you know what really matters to your colleagues? My guess is no. My guess is no. And I think unless we defend our own society, we can't moan about it degrading, because all we're doing is pushing the blame elsewhere for a degrading society. But perhaps we're to blame ourselves for not engaging with it and defending it against technology and the algorithm. Just my 2 pence. Look, don't shoot me for being a little bit political there. I won't necessarily divulge what my own personal politics are, but I think it's an interesting viewpoint. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's given you some food for thought. Is the answer going back to 5 TV channels and linear viewing? No, never going to happen. And I don't want that. I like choice. But should there be a little bit more balance? Should we be putting the effort in to enjoy the things that our fellow citizens also enjoy? Perhaps we should. Thank you for watching, and as always, have an awesome day.